Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When we were trying to get this podcast off the ground, we had so many questions. How do we record an episode? Where do we find background music? How do we get our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places that people like to listen? And where do we find advertisers? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Anchor makes it simple to get up and running. You can upload and schedule your podcasts ahead of time. It publishes to all the major podcast platforms. You can easily check your stats. I could go on, but instead, why don't you go and get started? Go to anchor.fm/start to join the e-commerce minute and a diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
It's the E-commerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts, Bart Mraz and John Suter. The E-commerce Minute is a production of Sumo Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's E-commerce Minute, episode 287.
In today's episode, GM's Maven, the Airbnb for cars.
The rules for car ownership are changing rapidly. In the olden days, it was given that everyone who could afford it owned a car. Now, with ubiquitous ride sharing and younger generations moving into cities and shunning car ownership, car makers need to get creative about selling cars. Not that the car manufacturers are hurting, they're selling more cars than ever, but they know the party won't last. That's why some manufacturers are getting creative and rethinking traditional models of car ownership. GM announced a new peer-to-peer car sharing service. In a nutshell, the service is an Airbnb-type service for vehicles in which owners of GM-branded vehicles would rent their cars to other people. GM's Maven car sharing company will operate the service. Car owners will keep 60% of the fee charged through Maven's platform, the company says, and the rate will depend on the type of car that's being rented. Eligible models include Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. Maven recommends charging $7.25 an hour and $80 a day for Chevy Cruzes, $14.50 an hour and $145 a day for GMC Sierras, and $22.50 an hour and $225 a day for Chevy Camaros. Maven is also offering a $150 monthly bonus to those users who list their vehicles for 50% of the month after the first 3 months. Through an app, drivers will be able to unlock and start the car using GM's keyless access technology, so you won't even have to meet and do a key swap with the renter. Maven says it will also cover up to $1 million in liability insurance, including collision coverage. The test for now will be limited to car owners who live in Chicago, Detroit, and Ann Arbor, Michigan.
I guess it's all GM stuff, huh?
Yeah, you have to have a GM vehicle. You know what? I like this.
So I use Maven as a car rental. So like Zipcar. Actually use Zipcar,
Okay.
But I use Maven. I like it a lot. It's exactly like Zipcar. It has the same things, but there's the technology in the app is better. You can unlock it. You can lock it. Yes, you can do that in the Zipcar, but you don't have to have one of those stupid cards anymore.
Right, the magnetic card.
Yeah, it's the little things like, with Zipcar, when you get gas, you have to remember the odometer. You have to remember like your number. This is all an app. You just pop the app open and it has everything in it. Anyway,
that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I just like it the way they just kind of did it. So what they're doing is the reason it's only GM cars because GM has what is it called? The call button thing.
OnStar.
OnStar. That's really what that is. So you can unlock, lock, and stuff like that. That's why you don't.
Right. So it's already built in.
Yeah, it's already built in. That's kind of how that works. So in New York, Maven, they leave keys in them because sometimes you want to park somewhere else and they don't want you to leave them in the streets. So it's kind of like a valet thing. But otherwise, everywhere else, Maven literally, there's no keys in them. So you can start them. Right. They're all hooked up, which is fantastic. I hate keys.
So this is a little extension on that. I really like this because I am someone who, due to geography, must own a car, but due to work situation, I don't really drive all that much. Boy, wouldn't it be nice to make money on your car while you're not using it? I think it's really, I mean, there's a little bit of a creep factor, especially in where I live. I mean, I could just imagine a guy coming in the middle of the night and driving my car away and the neighbors calling the cops. But
that would be funny.
But I think it's really great. And the prices, I mean, can you imagine if you just rented your car out for a couple of days, you'd make up your car payment and more. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think it's just like renting a car, right? People are like, well, it's my car. I'm like, yeah, so what? It's covered. Like, it's all insured. There's no difference between renting a car or having a car. Like people use Turo, which is another sort of thing that you can use, and there's a lot of fun cars on there. But this is definitely a fun way of doing it, and I think this is going to happen more and more. Where like you said, you're kind of like on the outskirts of the city, but still own a car.
Yeah,
you kind of have to. But it'd be interesting. Like I would love to be like a neighbor, right? Be like, oh, I don't want to buy a car, but there's 5 or 6 cars around me. During the day, I can just run out.
Yeah. So here's I didn't even think of this. So if you have like a neighbor that you're close with, so say if like you live in Fishtown, which is very congested and there's no place to park a car, you say to your neighbor, hey, let's go in on this car and we'll share a car.
Right.
Do that.
Yeah.
So Get Around just came to Philly. I never heard of Turo until now. So I think you're going to see more of these car sharing things. The interesting thing is that, as you said, because GM has the technology built in for the keyless stuff in the app, although there were some complaints, some customers have used Maven complain that user experience can be confusing. Well, the app can be a bit slow. I don't know if that was your experience. Others have found the cars available on Maven to be dirty. Well, you are using someone's car, and if the guy's a pig, there's nothing really you can do about that.
Correct. So the app thing, if they're using the same app that they're using for a regular Maven, basically when you come up to it, it automatically connects through Bluetooth to the car. You have to just open the app. That's really how that works. So sometimes, so you also have to, the problem with is that if you're in the garage and you have no signal, it won't unlock it because it's got to, hook up the satellites and hook up, say you're here and stuff like that. So sometimes that happens, but it's rare. Sometimes it's a little slow to connect to the Bluetooth. It's just another Bluetooth connection. That's all it is.
Interesting. So it's neat what Maven is doing, and I think you're going to see other manufacturers roll out similar services. So they have the Airbnb for the cars. They have the Zip car service. They also have a service called Maven Gig, where you want to be an Uber driver and you don't have a car. They will lend a vehicle to you, and then you can be an Uber driver or Postmates or an Instacart driver. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you probably have to really drive a lot to make it worth your while. But if you don't have a car,
well, you got to look at it like if you don't have a car, you don't have to pay payments on it. Like, yeah, you might give up a little bit away for it, but why not? Oh wait, I forgot they did. Sorry, I was reading your notes really quick. I forgot they had the reserve thing.
What is that?
It's their long-term car share. So you can do it for a month instead of just renting it for the day.
And I assume you'll save a few bucks.
Yeah, it's just a long-term car rental. And it's like, wow. I'm just looking through it now. It works exactly the same. So Maven is really GM's way of just doing all these things.
Yeah, it's turning car ownership on its head. I think it's pretty smart on their part. As I said earlier in the article, I think the rules for car ownership are really going to change, and it's going to change a lot faster than any of us are going to realize. So they're trying to stay ahead of this.
They're definitely staying ahead of this. Wow, I am now more interested in this stuff.
You are Maven.
That's right.
All right, that's pretty cool. Got anything else, Bart?
No, that's it.
That's your e-commerce minute for today. Full show notes are at ecommerceminute.co. We will see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at Sumo Heavy.